You are now experiencing Less Than Fresh, a movie podcast. Less Than Fresh is a free-form discussion of movies and other related media, so it should be assumed there are potential spoilers hiding around every corner. Consider this your official spoiler warning. This podcast is rated not safe for work and contains mild cursing. So, if you're uncomfortable with that, then you can go yourself in the and then get the out of here. This podcast is designed to be taken auditorily or optically. If you've somehow ingested it orally or rectally, please induce vomiting immediately. Now, on with the show.
Right, we are live
Yay!
worldwide, everywhere on the internet. Well, everywhere that still has internet after this week.
We are back, and they said we couldn't do it.
No, they said, please don't do it.
Well, technically it was me who said we couldn't do it, but they said we couldn't do it.
They said we couldn't do it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 2 of the Less Than Fresh podcast, The Search for More Money. Yes, I did, after all the Spaceballs references in the last episode, name this one The Search for More Money. And God, do we need it, because like everybody that I've been talking to about this project, like I keep wanting to call it a side hustle, but I call it a side project instead, because a side hustle makes you money. So far, this has done nothing but cost money.
Pretty much it.
Speaking of which, the little spring yard, I keep wanting to call that thing spring yard, because that was a level in the original Sonic the Hedgehog video game. StreamYard duck flew away.
Yes, I miss our little duck. I'm not usually a bird person, but I miss him.
Did you need a hug?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, stay strong, man. Stay strong.
I'll try.
We got a long way to go to make it through this episode. Yes, this is our second episode, and we always start off with sort of a BS segment just to warm up, just to say, hey, touch base with one another. And so previously, in honor of the very funny line from the funny movie, The Candidate, I had named that segment Playing Hee-Haw with the Fuck Around Gang. You said that you didn't like that. You wanted it not to be called that.
Not really. No.
So now the segment is called Not Playing Hee-Haw with the Fuck Around Gang.
Okay.
This is what you get when you tell me that the first idea is something you don't want, but you don't give me a suggestion of a better idea.
I acknowledge my guilt.
Yeah, so we're just going to kind of be our own jovial selves for a few minutes. And then I have a couple of mini games to play in this first segment, and then we'll get into the actual topics.
Okay. Sounds like fun.
You were having allergy attacks last week.
Yeah,
really
bad allergy. I was puffed up really bad. Sinuses didn't feel really good, so I was a little bit low energy. I'm going to try to be a little bit more boisterous, like my normal self this time.
Good. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear that you're feeling better, and glad to feel that we'll get the more high energy version.
I figured you'd probably be more happy that I was shutting up, but that's what you usually tell me.
The rules are a little bit different when it comes to a podcast. If you shut up for an hour and a half, 2 hours, in this context, it's detrimental. We're never going to find more money if you do that. Just to let everybody know. Okay. So let me preface this. So last week, I keep saying last week, but it was like 2 weeks ago, because we recorded and then it took a week to get it edited and everything. And we're back again Jasper's back. Tell a friend. So you had said, like, we were talking about Coyote versus Acme,
Yeah.
and I
And
called you
how,
out. Oh, I tried to justify.
Antichrist.
Yeah,
I believe that's what I said. I don't know.
If that isn't what you said, that's what you should have said.
He's the cinema Antichrist. We'll just put it
Cinema
that way.
Antichrist, yeah. So we were talking about Coyote versus Acme, and I had said that I wasn't familiar with the movie, and you had said that because I didn't know as much about the production history of that movie as you, then that meant that I lived in a cave.
Did I really say that?
Yes, you did. Let's go to the clip. No,
But I was going to say, as many times as I've said that you live in a cave, I kind of lose track of when I do and when I don't.
Well, that was one of those times.
I was going to say, well,
But
when it comes to movies, you pretty much do live in a cave.
Well, I don't eat, sleep, and breathe them, nor do I claim to be any sort of an expert on this. I'm just a guy who likes movies and wastes time sitting around my house talking to you about this stuff. But I'm a positive person, and I take even non-constructive criticism, I try to take it constructively. And so I looked at my process, and I found that, really the two best talking points, the subjects, topics to talk about in that episode came from an article you had sent me and an article that my mom had sent me. One being the Draft House. She sent me that, and then you sent me the thing about Spaceballs. Well, that got...
I said she sent that to me too, because she knows how much I love movies. So.
Oh, the Draft House thing?
Yeah, the Draft House, yeah.
She's a sweetheart. My mom's a sweetheart.
Yes, she is.
I learned from that. And so I feel like, I'm not going to be the person who knows about every phase of production in every movie that's coming out, or in the case of Warner Brothers movies not coming out.
Yeah.
But that got me thinking. So now, ladies and gentlemen, you can be part of the process. We have started our own Discord server, Less Than Fresh, a movie Discord. And the links will be in the description. It'll also be on our Facebook page. Come and join us. There is a channel on the Discord called Episode Ideas. If you go in there and link to an article that you think would be a good topic, or you've just got something off the top of your head that you think would be a good subject for the show, and we end up using it, we'll shout you out in the episode. So I can act like I'm an informed individual, but I still don't have to do any more research.
Yeah,
it's like you emailing me, except it's not you, it's everybody in the whole world, and they're on our Discord.
Like, I catch articles here and there, but thanks to this, I was just thinking the other day, I'm like, I really maybe actually need to start actively seeking this information out so I can be somewhat informed for the podcast instead of just my usual absorbing movies.
You'll be interested to know that on the Discord there are various bots that are like, I don't know if bots is the right term, but like apps that you can add to the Discord. And one of those is the Greatest Love of Your Life Internet Movie Database. So just to run down some other things that are on the Discord, we've got Playing Hee Haw, where you can just kind of chit chat amongst yourselves, or with us if we're on the Discord at the time. We are there from time to time to meet up and talk with fans, assuming we will eventually have some, and share dank movie memes. I mean, I said eventually. I mean, like, before the sun burns out. Between now and then, I think we got some time to cultivate like 5-10 fans, and maybe a few of them will use Discord.
I still say you're awfully hopeful. I really don't think anybody ever really wants to listen to us.
I said earlier in the episode, I'm an optimist. Well, I need this. Don't take this away from me.
I'm not saying that I'm not going to keep talking anyways. I just think nobody wants to hear it. That's never stopped me before.
That has never stopped you before. Not even close. It somehow encourages you to talk more.
What can I say? I like the sound of my own voice.
Now we're getting back to that me wanting to tell you to shut up thing. Got to resist that urge. We need audio for the podcast.
Remember, money.
Right. That's what it is. It's the search for more money. So just to touch on a couple of other things on the Discord, we've got Dank Movie Me Facebook page. Then you know that we both love some dank memes. So go ahead and post your favorites. Recommended viewing. If you've got something that you want us to see or something that you want other folks on the Discord to see, go ahead and post a suggestion. Leave a link to IMDb or wherever if you can. And then general podcasting. This goes along with the new vlog I started. It's being posted on our YouTube channel. It's called What I've Learned, a podcaster's vlog. And the idea is that just as I learn new things about the process and about the best equipment to use and things, I'll just create a little vlog. And if you're starting a podcast, then you can jump on there and learn. You just get a jump start because you'll learn the things that I had to learn through experience. So the general podcasting channel kind of goes along with that. Fact check. That's where when we reference certain things in the episode, we can show our receipts and show that where that came from. Some examples, I posted a link to the burn notice tweet or the burn notice quote that I did in the last episode, the Jurassic Park quote that we named the episode after last week, Buckets, the Zach Galifianakis as a sad clown series, and the Lindsay Ellis episode that I referenced. I'm still trying to find other things that I referenced, and the thing is, if we get something wrong, which I can't speak. I can't speak for everybody on the podcast, but certainly I will do that.
I'm perfect.
If I got something wrong, you can, call me out on it.
Oh, I will.
And show you, the audience, can call me out on it and post your receipts here to show me that it was really this thing and not that thing. For example, I'm trying to find that Adam Conover episode that I referenced, but I'm not finding it on YouTube. So if it turns out that it's not Adam Conover, it's some other video, then I'll post that on the Discord as a correction. But it's just another way to stay in contact with your favorite podcasters, Jasper Disaster and Classy Cassady.
Are we doing a Twitter account at all?
Haven't yet.
Because I absolutely refuse to call it X. It's Twitter.
Yeah.
Honestly, I only brought that up because I wanted to say.
I'm one of those people who's anti-Twitter. I like, I used it a little bit back in the day, but back when it was not entirely a cesspool.
I've sent one tweet on my own personal account that I created just so I could bitch at Warner Brothers for not giving me a Blu-ray release of Death to Smoochie. And that's all it was a tweet to Warner Brothers about how come I don't have a Blu-ray of Death to Smoochie. I like dark comedies.
Like, they didn't release it on Blu-ray?
No, there's no Blu-ray release. And I think the DVD is out of print right now. I could be wrong about that. But yeah, they have not released it on Blu-ray. And that, when I sent the tweet, was, 4 or 5 years ago.
Do you have the? Do you have
definitely still colored Twitter? Huh?
Do you have the DVD version?
No, I don't. I haven't got a DVD version of it. It's something I've been meaning to get, but I never have because I don't know. You know how I'm kind of slow to move from media, formats. Like it took me forever to go from VHS.
Oh, I thought you were saying just slow to move at all, like a tortoise.
Well, that too, but that's besides the point. No, I mean it just took me a while, and when I finally did switch over to Blu-ray, I've kind of made myself a promise that I'm not buying DVDs anymore. I'm only buying Blu-ray. So.
Well, you can have my copy of Death to Smoochie.
I didn't have a copy of it.
I'll send you my DVD copy.
Yeah, no.
I'll watch it and then send you my DVD copy.
You haven't seen it yet?
No.
No, you got to watch it. Robin Williams is brilliant. Warner Brothers, where's my Blu-ray copy?
All right, man. So, like I said, there's going to be a couple of mini games in here. And so I was looking back at the last episode. I was thinking there was this just off-the-cuff moment where I mentioned there should be a movie with Ryan Reynolds and I almost said Zach Galifianakis. Ryan Reynolds and Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
So that got me thinking to do this little thought experiment game. Dream casting. So,
no one's ever done that before. Sorry.
You can get the fuck out. Just get right the fuck out the door. Yeah. Don't let it hit you. Smart ass. God damn. These kids these days, they got no respect. All right. So, yeah. All right. It's a little derivative. I'll give you that. But, but at the same time, it's the same sort of bullshit that we do whenever we're hanging out together.
Sure.
So, I thought it was an easy way to get content for the show because, audio and content, those are two things you need for a podcast. I really should have explained this before we started recording.
Well, you never know. We might have a viewer or two that's a little confused.
Yeah. So anyway, dream casting. So I said Ryan Reynolds and Paul Rudd. I'm not gonna say that's my answer for this game, but that's a good example. So give us who's the main cast, who's the supporting cast, and what's the plot?
You're supposed to give me some prompts here, like, okay, who would you have for this property or for that? I mean, just a general movie.
So let's talk about that. What existing property would you recast, and who would you recast it with?
Okay. See, that's a little bit easier for me. I say a little bit easier. It's still not that easy because I got to decide which property to recast. And I always think about like a lot of the times about wanting to cast thing, and instead of I like the idea of casting unknowns to give a completely fresh. Cause sometimes I feel like
that's real convenient. That's really convenient for your turn in the game. I like to cast unknowns, so I can't possibly play my turn because I don't know who they are yet. I haven't seen them.
I'm not saying I won't cast for my own actors. I'm just saying is that ideally, if I was in charge of casting, I would tend towards casting unknowns because I feel like a lot of name actors bring a certain amount of baggage that can affect how they interpret the part and how people see them in the part.
And do you think that's pigeonholing and typecasting? Because, like, you know, you see somebody in a really iconic role and forever after they are that character.
A lot of people do that. And to a certain degree, I admit, so do I. I tend to think of certain actors for certain types of parts.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I watch movies, the more I see more and more that not necessarily by any fault of their own, most actors wind up playing pretty much the same character in every movie. Take Ryan Reynolds, for instance, or Paul Rudd. It's very rare
yeah,
to see them.
It's really easy to make that argument when you point at somebody who doesn't have range. I mean, like,
I don't know about Paul Rudd, but I have seen movies with Ryan Reynolds where he has range, where he has played not the same snarky, lovable character or slightly unlovable character.
Yeah,
but
maybe it's unfair. Maybe it's unfair of me to phrase it exactly that way, but like, not that Ryan Reynolds doesn't have range, but like, I mean, like, maybe Vince Vaughn has range. No, that's not true, because I saw that Jurassic Park movie he was in where he tried to play somebody who wasn't Vince Vaughn.
I don't know. I've heard some good things about movies that he's done recently, but I haven't been a big fan of his, so I haven't watched a whole lot of it. Like Rumble at Cell Block 39 or something like that. I don't remember I don't know. And then,
but I mean, that's
Brawl at Cell Block something or other.
Oh yeah, sorry. Okay. No, yeah, the name rings a bell, but like, that's almost a worse indictment, isn't it? To say, okay, this actor has range, they can do other things, but all they've done lately is be Vince Vaughn or be Ryan Reynolds.
Mm-hmm. Yes and no. I mean, it depends. How much of that is them deciding that I'm just going to do the same thing, and how much of it is these are the only parts they're being offered. So they're either do that same thing over and over again or don't work. It's hard to say. To get back to the original thing, I've seen this thing on the internet. It's not original, but I still think it would be the last. Is everybody says how Elijah Wood and Daniel Radcliffe resemble each other, and people get them confused.
Mm-hmm.
And saw this thing and talking about doing a buddy comedy where Elijah Wood plays Daniel Radcliffe and Daniel Radcliffe plays Elijah Wood, and some mishaps, fictionalized versions of themselves, except they're playing the other person, and mishaps happen. I think that would be fun to watch, I think. Honestly, I don't see how people get those two mixed up. They don't really look similar to me, but...
Well, no, I in my head, I see it. But at the same time, like, I think it's for people who aren't observant. So, like, like, I could say and have said that Topher Grace and Tobey Maguire look similar. I can tell them apart.
Yeah, which one played Peter Parker and which one played Eddie Brock?
Screw you, man.
No, I will say that I think
Calling me out like that.
I don't really see them similar enough to get them confused. But I do. I mean, that is the only positive thing I could say about that third. Well, not the only positive thing, but that third movie. I do think that in casting wise, he was a great foil for Tobey Maguire.
Mhm.
He just wasn't right for the character of Eddie Brock. You know,
Yeah.
like have him play opposite Tobey Maguire in another movie, and they'd be great off one another.
No,
but
no, man. No, man. No, you don't. Because I remember back in the day, you were grousing all over the place about him being cast as Eddie Brock.
yes,
And
because he doesn't
it
fit
was
as Eddie
me.
Brock.
Yeah. I get your complaint.
never
But
said
it wasn't you didn't come around. You didn't come around until I said that they cast him because he was a better foil for Tobey Maguire.
I have never said that he wasn't a great foil for Tobey Maguire. I've always said that. I just said he was not right for Eddie Brock. And
You've always said that after
Venom,
I said it to you the first time.
And that their version of Venom really went against the character of Venom from the comics.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, above and beyond fanboy nitpicking, just the way that the whole thing was always about them being a symbiote, the two of them working together. So the fact that he always referred to himself in the first person, I, instead of, or first person, it referred to himself in singular as I rather than as plural, we, is a complete betrayal of the character of Venom.
Right. And I think that we went and saw the first Venom movie together. And so I don't really recall, did that Venom used singular, not plural, also, right?
But it was in that one they portrayed them as separate personalities that were fighting each other until they finally came until the very end, and when they finally reached that accord, and then I think that's like one of the last lines of the movie. He says, "We are Venom." But in that, yes, Venom said "I" and Eddie Brock said "I," but they never actually referred to themselves as one person until the end, in which they've
right. So it was less of a stumbling of the writing staff and more of an intentional
thing.
device.
I mean, as many flaws as that movie, I remember when we went and saw that, and I absolutely loved it. Went back, rewatched it, and realized there are a lot of flaws in that movie that I didn't really see the first time because it was so much better than the Spider-Man 3 version that I was kind of blinded by that. Yes, finally a good representation. But I think Tom Hardy definitely represented Eddie Brock a lot better. If you would have gave me a little bit more advanced notice, I think I probably could have come up with a lot better of an answer for this dream casting. Because I would have
let's move on to the next thing. So I was thinking back on the Candidate, the great star-studded film, The Candidate. And that scene that we looked at.
You need to make some sort of dismissive thing about Will Ferrell or Zach Galifianakis. No.
I was holding for the applause that surely happened for the audience when I bring that movie up. Because that's something that people do, right? They randomly applaud podcasts that they're listening to.
Yeah, sure, I guess.
So, I was thinking about that scene that we watched and how I want to say Dylan McDermott. Yeah, I really hope. Okay.
See, there's one that I can see how people get mixed up.
Dylan McDermott and Dermot Mulroney.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very similar names, and they do bear enough of a resemblance.
Mm-hmm. So Dylan McDermott has like the what I consider to be the funniest line in the whole movie, and I even looked for him on Cameo to see if I could pay him money to tell me that I was playing hee haw with the fuck around gang. No such luck. So anyway, yeah, not at any price. The man cannot be bought. So that's integrity. That's integrity you just don't see much these days. Anyway, I was thinking. So here's a movie with Zach Galifianakis and Will Ferrell, and the funniest line, in my opinion, comes from a supporting cast member. So the other mini game I wanted to play is scene stealing. It's not really where you have to cast somebody or anything like that. I just kind of wanted to take a minute and see if you could think of other examples of where somebody who is, somebody who is not one of the main actors, main characters, steals a scene big time in a movie.
Gosh, there's so many that, like, I know there's a lot out there that I've thought that, but then trying to think of what it is off the top of my head again. First thing that I can think of, Robert De Niro in Stardust, playing Captain Shakespeare, as a pirate who is, I don't know, it maybe not be that, it may be considered insensitive, and as a straight male, he plays a gay captain who's pretending to be straight because he's afraid that all of his men would never accept him, even though all of them already know and still love him as their captain anyways.
Oh.
And just some of the hijinks of him, being all tough and the moment they're out, he's all very effeminate, and I'm like, I know it may not be the most politically correct performance, but it worked for me. I thought it was hilarious, and it didn't feel like they were being insulting at him. His portrayal wasn't like a caricature making fun of gay people. It just sort of the awkwardness of his situation. That's the only one I can think of top of my head.
I mean, he took what he was given and he worked with it.
Yeah.
So, not to focus too much on the straight person playing a gay character thing, but the Rock, you had mentioned that.
Yeah, thank you. That'd be cool. The Rock and Andre Benjamin, or Andre 3000?
3000.
Yeah, 3000. Both of them stole every scene they were in. And The Rock being a gay bodyguard who, they didn't really focus on him being gay. He was just a bodyguard that wanted to be a country music star who happened to be gay. So he makes it his debut trying to get the doing is it Shania Twain's Any Man of Mine, I think it is. And he doesn't see why that would put some people off. And I just found it like, otherwise they play him playing pretty, I hate to say it this way because we're talking about playing pretty straight, as in he's not a comedic foil. He's the straight man. He's not a buffoon. But again, in slightly, awkward circumstances. Andre Benjamin playing the wannabe thug, hip hop star, the gangster that keeps screwing things up. So he's like acting kind of sheepish because he did something stupid, and it was hilarious in it. And the rest of the film, I didn't care much for. I loved the original Get Shorty. I didn't really like the sequel because, again, Vince Vaughn playing Vince Vaughn as a white boy trying to be all street hip hop when he obviously isn't. that whole type of like, he didn't genuinely grow up in the streets. He's just like a suburbanite trying to act all tough. I didn't really find him that funny in that. And then I always have to say is that John Travolta and Uma Thurman should never have been cast together, because they both kept kind of, especially John Travolta, that kept falling in and out. He couldn't realize, was he playing Vincent Vega from Pulp Fiction, or was he playing, and for the life of me the character name escapes me, from Get Shorty. It's like he kept falling in and out of each character. And I was like, I really felt like that was probably because he was working with Uma Thurman again, so he forgot what film he was on. And then Steven Tyler, playing himself, gave the worst performance I've ever seen. I mean, all you had to do was read the lines as you would say them, and it felt wooden and stilted and badly acted. Funny when you can't even play yourself.
So yeah, I have a couple of things to say on that. So thinking about, like, this doesn't really have to do with stealing scenes per se, but like have you ever seen the movie Wild Hogs?
I've got bits of it. Again, it's not really my sort of comedy, so I kind of passed on it. I've caught here and there.
I will refer everybody to my statement that I made in the last episode, and that is that I like to hurt myself with movies. Yeah, watch Wild Hogs if you want to hurt yourself, because it's a painful experience. This is one that I actually saw in the theater with my mother and my sister. So this was not self-inflicted. But so there's this whole scene, and I'm not going to find the scene and make you watch it. I'm not going to make you watch any part of Wild Hogs. But there's this one scene where the guys are on their bikes and they're going on their little road trip, and they stop off at this cafe or bar or whatever, and then Paul Sr. from Orange County Choppers is there. And I was a big American Chopper fan at one point. And it was funny to see him in the movie, and it was appropriate because it was a motorcycle themed movie. But oh my God, every single line that he hit, it was so unnatural the way he said it, and his delivery was so distracting that for the life of me, I barely remember the dialogue, because it was just, I think I was cringing myself inside out at the point when that happened. That's why I don't remember much of that experience. But like, oh my God, like that, I would say, for my money, that was the worst performance of somebody playing themselves. A couple of other performances that I wanted to mention. Did you ever see Uncut Gems?
No, it was on my list. I'd heard really good things about it. There's way more movies out there that I want to see than I ever have time to see. But I'm not a huge fan of Adam. Well, I say that. Every time I say that, like, I don't really like Adam Sandler. And I go and look at his IMDb page, and I actually enjoy most of the films I've seen him do. It's just the ones that I've seen that I hate. I hate with such a passion. It kind of overshadows the good stuff. So, but no, I have not had the opportunity to watch that. And I hear he's really awesome.
He is. It's one of those,
comedic
actor as a dramatic actor, working out better. Yeah. I mean, I can't think of any points in that movie where he really even tries to be funny. And I say that as a point towards the movie.
Yeah.
But so I won't go into spoiling things. I will just say that the movie is set a couple of, it's an A24 movie, by the way. So stamp of quality as far as you and I are concerned.
No, I don't know. I'm like, some A24 I really, really dig, and then some just kind of feels.
I have yet to see an A24 film that I dislike.
Oh, I can't say I've seen an A24 film that I disliked, because there have been several A24 films that I've just said, no, I'm not going to waste my time watching them.
Well, this was back when I had Movie Pass. So like that immediately takes the ticket price out of the equation. So
Yeah.
you can really judge a movie on its own merits. So so I'm not going to spoil it for you, but the movie takes place a few years before when the movie was actually released. So you have in the movie you have The Weeknd, and it was before he had super blown up. He was still doing club events and in smaller venues and stuff in the movie. So he was playing in a younger, earlier version of The Weeknd, and then Kevin Garnett was also in the movie. And so I won't talk about his plot line, but the thing is, both of them play themselves in name, The Weeknd, Kevin Garnett, but they play really unlikable versions of themselves. And so it's just like, it was amazing to me that both of those people, who are not actors as such, signed on to do this movie and signed on to be really terrible versions of themselves. Now that being said, I want to like kind of roll that back a bit and or like walk that back a bit, and because I've had times where I've been in productions and they always want to cast me as the nice guy, because I am a nice guy, a good guy, but that
Sorry. No, you were saying.
I was saying I'm a good guy, and so that makes me want to gravitate towards the bad guy roles because I feel like I'm being typecast. Plus, it's more of an acting challenge if you play somebody who isn't just like who you are in real life. So I can kind of understand it, but I don't know. I don't know if that's what they were thinking. It just seems like kind of a weird experience to be, the worst version of yourself, or perhaps even a completely fictitious, terrible version of yourself.
Well, I mean, actors do it all the time. I've seen it in several movies and shows where somebody played a fictionalized version of themselves that's not necessarily flattering.
I mean, like what? Give me an example.
Um,
Oh, you're really putting me on the spot. If you told me in advance, if you gave me some time to think, I could have come up with much better answers.
The only thing I can think of offhand is Al Pacino in Jack and Jill. I haven't really seen enough of that movie to really say if that was a flattering or an unflattering portrayal of himself.
Okay. Well, recommendation from me to you and to everybody who's watching or listening. Uncut Gems, highly, highly recommend. Shall we get into the actual topics?
Sure.
Topic 1, Avengers meh symbol. I had somebody send me an email with this article about let's see if I can get it up on the up on the 3 box here. I'm going to say no. It's an article about Avengers 5 being rumored to be delayed. And in my cave-dwelling ways, I didn't really realize there was going to be an Avengers 5. I'd heard about...
they've got a 5 and a 6 in the works.
Yeah, because I looked up a roadmap, and so Captain America: Brave New World I knew about. I had heard somebody mention that recently. Avengers 5, I'm kind of, I'm looking forward to Avengers 6 because I want to get to Secret Wars.
Yeah.
But, I don't...
I understand why. I could really get why they're having to pause it, because there's that whole thing with was it Jonathan Majors? I think his name. I can't think of his name offhand. The guy they originally planned on having play Kang, which was their big bad villain for this phase. Mm-hmm. They got first season of Loki, second season of Loki. Cameos, and he had a big part in Quantumania, Ant-Man and the Wasp. So they were building him to be the real big bad guy, and then he goes and gets convicted of domestic violence. And Disney had to cut. They didn't have to. They chose to. And I don't blame them in the slightest. Cut ways with him. I have issues when somebody gets accused of something and they cut ties with them. But once they're convicted and it's proven that, yes, they actually did it, cut away. Disney has never been that kind of company. They have such a they view themselves as being a company that has such a reputation to defend, such an image to defend, that they cut at the very insinuation of impropriety. But having to try to rework where they're going with it now that I'm like, do they recast? Do they kind of lean away from that, character? Which I think they might be doing a little bit. I don't know. I just recently finished watching Loki season 2, and the ending kind of felt like it was something where they could have cut him out of being an issue anymore. It's kind of vague. Like, it still could have been an issue, but then maybe not. I don't want to give away. I know we give spoiler warnings, but I don't really want to give away any spoilers because I don't want to be that person.
Right. I didn't. As far as I never saw Loki season 2. I was just not up for it. I binge watched season 1, and then when they got to the cliffhanger at the end of season 1, or not cliffhanger, but the twist at the end of season 1, I'm like, I'm out. And not like I'm out necessarily. Not that I'm like out completely, like I'm never going to go back and check it out. I will,
Well, I mean, it
probably eventually, but I'm not, it's not something where I'm like dying to see what happens next.
Well, it was here. I'm trying to remember when they released season 2. Sometime back in 2023, and I didn't watch it until about a month ago. So, I mean, even being a Marvel fan, it took me a while to go, I'll get around to it.
Mm-hmm. So, but the thing that I'm really wanting to get at here, I'm really just using that article as a jumping off point here, because there was this brilliant sketch that they did on the Daily Show about Joe Biden. He gave an interview saying, they asked, would you consider dropping out of the race? and he said, if God Almighty told me to do it, then I might. if God himself came down and told him, then he might. Which, by the way, as of the date of this recording, Joseph Robinette Biden has dropped out of the presidential race for re-election. Kamala Harris is the candidate, and he's going to continue being the president, but she is going to be the one running.
I did not know that. I did not hear about that.
Yes, that's news that broke just hours before recording. So, yeah. So they did this great sketch where, like, he said he wasn't going to back down unless God himself told him to. So they had one of their newscasters dressed up as God, and it's like, and Jon Stewart's like, he's never going to fall for this. And the guy dressed up as God is like, have you seen him lately? So then they cut away to another newscaster that's supposed to be Jesus. And then they're like, maybe we need a different deity. And then one of the other newscasters comes on dressed up as Buddha. And then it finally goes to one of their other newscasters who's dressed up as Thor. And I think probably the best line of that whole sketch is you've got the woman who is dressed up as Thor, and then you've got a guy standing next to her in a raccoon mask, and he says, and I'm that raccoon that hangs out with Thor sometimes, I guess. I don't know. I saw it on a plane. I didn't really follow what was going on. So they but the way they ended it was with Thor saying, you really have to know when something has run its course and people don't have interest in it anymore. Take it from us, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, I don't think that's necessarily a fair assessment of the whole MCU, but Avengers as a property, again, saying this as somebody who wants to get to Secret Wars, I think another Captain America movie, I think that's got legs. I think, some of the other properties, like we're getting another Daredevil origin movie, which I'm not too thrilled about. There's going to be another Fantastic Four movie, and they're going to be reworking Blade. So some of these, huh?
Oh, Blade's kind of a troubled production, so said maybe someday. That's the movie I might.
Yeah. The only movie we know for sure is coming out on this whole list is Deadpool and Wolverine. But I'm saying specifically about the Avengers property, isn't it a little long in the tooth? Because they had they had all the individual origin story movies, and then they had the Avengers proper, and they milked that cash cow good and hard. And then when they needed something to pimp on Disney Plus, they created all kinds of mini-series based on the Avengers, which was cool to see movie actors playing the same characters in a mini-series on a subscription service. That was something that most people couldn't do, but Disney could do as a flex. But I'm saying that's more oversaturation.
I honestly don't know how I feel on this, because part of me does feel like, okay, you guys had a nice ending point at Endgame, but I do like the idea of them handing off the torch to the next generation of heroes, which is some of what they were building towards in some of those Disney Plus series. That's one thing I like about the MCU base better than I do the comics, is the fact that when the actors get old, you kind of have to kill off the characters. You can't, or contracts run out. Whereas in the comics, they never age, and it just goes on and on and on and on. That's one of my issues with The Simpsons. Is the fact that Bart, I think, is the same age as he was when the series started.
Right.
20 years later. It's like, I like story progression. I like growth. I don't want to be caught in a loop of the, with no.
And I like there's the episode Family Guy Meets The Simpsons, and then
I didn't get to see that one.
There's one part where Stewie is hanging out with Bart, and Bart gets beat up by one of the bullies, and Stewie's like, "Good Lord, how long has that chap been picking on you?" And he's like, 24 years.
Yeah.
It's just like, I like that. They never age, they never change, but yeah. And there's all kinds of videos that have been written about how the Simpsons have an elastic timeline, how it is supposed to it starts X number of years before whatever current year is, and so they keep moving the goalposts.
Yeah.
So
everyone talks about superhero fatigue, getting tired of the movies, and I'm like, I to a certain degree understand it. I don't really have superhero fatigue. I just feel like I really feel like they should have concentrated on what was next sooner. It feels to me like they were putting all their time and energy into Endgame, and then they finally got there. And then they were with, oh crap, what's next? This new phases don't really feel like they had the investment in them. So the movies themselves don't feel really that tied together anymore.
mm-hmm.
I'm like, you see a few characters that show up from here to there, maybe an occasional reference, but like you mentioned Blade, they're getting ready to do his movie. They first kind of barely introduced him way back in, what was it, 2022, 2021, with the Eternals. I'm not sure what that is, when that was.
He's going to IMDb, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, of course I am. What else would
I know exactly what kind of senior citizen you're going to be. You know how they have those jitterbug phones where you program in 3 numbers and it can only call those 3 numbers? You're going to be that guy, except it's going to be 2 phone numbers and a link to IMDb.
Probably. So it was 2021, and there's been no mention of them in any of the other Marvel properties since. The Eternals, they have just the Eternals themselves.
Mm-hmm.
No mention of them since. They had the whole thing at the end of the Eternals, where they introduced Star Fox and Pip the Troll, which most people, when they saw that thing, are like, unless they were comics fans, just familiar MCU, they're like, who the hell are they? And why is Patton Oswalt voiced over that hideous, god-awful CGI? Because Disney overworks their animators, and they didn't have time to do decent CGI. Mm-hmm. That's why. But it's just the fact that they introduced all these little threads, and then they're not, they're not following up on them like they were. Like the first series, way back phase 1, you would see a stinger. Next thing you know, the very next movie related to that stinger. So you were waiting 4 or 5 years to finally get a payoff about what they're talking about. So That's why I kind of feel like this entire, what is it, phase 5 now?
You'd have to tell me, buddy. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the first 4 phases was through Endgame. I lose track of which phase is which. I just like, but it's why it feels so disjointed. It's like for something that's supposed to be part of the same cinematic universe. I guess for me the best way to put it is they're tied together, but not closely enough. I get that there's other stories out there that you don't always have to tell about the same thing, but they tie it just enough to make you think about that other stuff, but then keep it so loose that it leaves you feeling disjointed instead of keeping them separate enough. If you're not really going to have everything tied together like the first series, then you need to not tie them together as tightly as you have, so that people can say, okay, well, this is about this, and not wondering why this isn't tying into the other stuff very much. Why is it we went this direction, and then now the next thing I know, you're talking about this over here that has absolutely nothing to do with that over there. For me, that's the big thing about. And now I'm still going to see all the movies. I still have seen all the movies. I'm trying to get caught up on all my Disney Plus series. I watched Echo. Right now, I'm trying to get through second season of What If.
I wish I had Disney Plus again.
Yeah. Echo was interesting. It was only 5 episodes, and I don't know. It was like, other than the Kingpin, it didn't really feel like it. Like, other than the character of Echo, which was brought in from the Hawkeye miniseries, where she was introduced, and then Kingpin, it didn't really feel like it had anything to do with the Marvel universe. It didn't feel like a superhero type story. Mm-hmm. And but
I
don't think it was, but I can't honestly say.
Moving on to the next subject, topic 2, the favorite movie system. This is something that you and I have talked about quite a bit, and it seems to be a good litmus test, a good metric, and I thought we'd explain it to the people out there on the internet. I can't remember if we came up with this or if this was something we adopted from the Totally Rad show or where exactly this came from. But the idea is that if it's a movie that you will stop whatever you're doing and watch the rest of the movie, no matter where you come into the movie at, that's one of your favorite movies.
I would say that I think you got that from the Totally Rad show. Because I don't think that was something we came up with specifically on our own.
Okay, but it's still a good metric to fully give credit where credit is due. Jeff Kanata, Dan Trachtenberg, and Alex. Shoot, I almost had the first and last name for all 3 of them. I'll Google it here in a second, but it was a Revision 3 podcast, and it was one of our inspirations for wanting to get into new media. The Totally Rad show, they would do video game reviews, movie reviews, and comic book reviews. And Alex Albright, Jeff Kanata, and then the director of 10 Cloverfield Lane, Dan Trachtenberg, was also on that show.
Yeah, I would have went with director of Prey, but
it was the first thing from his resume that came to mind.
Probably, it was definitely the best Predator movie since the original, and I don't know, flip a coin to which one was better. I mean, it was.
I remember that the excitement of that moment, like you and I went into to watch it just to see the movie, and then when the credit came up at the end, directed by Dan Trachtenberg, I don't know exactly what the experience was like for you, but for me it was like seeing the name of someone we actually know on screen as a movie director. I mean, we don't know Dan Trachtenberg personally.
Yeah. For me, it was just...
Dan, if you feel like coming on the show, absolutely. Dan Trachtenberg, Jeff Kanata, Alex Albrecht, we can have you all on here. It could be a totally rad show reunion.
Say, honestly,
a 5-way fist bump
for him. You got to actually direct.
Hmm?
I say, honestly, for me, it was more of just about good for you. You got to direct. Next time, that's going to be my name up on the screen. I was a little more ambitious back then.
I don't I don't have those kind of aspirations. Honestly, I don't want to direct. You know, I hinted at this horror movie project that I'm associated with, and really, and I mentioned that I talked with my producer and told her that we were looking for this specific type of director. I don't want to deal with that. I want to be the writer, or I mean, at this point the script is more or less being written by committee, but it's still good. I mean, I value the feedback from the people that I get, that I have showing scenes to, and getting notes from them. It's valuable info. I value those people's opinion. But that's my wheelhouse. That's where I want to be. I want to be the head writer. I don't want to deal with all the nitpicky things of like being the director of photography and figuring out, okay, the camera's got to be here so I can get that and get this, and we want to do this focal length and blah blah blah. I don't want to be the director that has to right the ship when everything goes pear-shaped. I don't want any of those headaches. I want to give them the script and say, go make the damn movie.
Well, I do kind of want to do I like the idea of telling the story. So I kind of want to write, but I can work with like other people's ideas. I want to direct because I want to direct it, and then I like editing because they always, it's a classic saying that I'm sure everybody's heard to death. Movies made 3 times: once when it's written, once when it's filmed, and once when it's edited. And I at least want to be part of the last 2. Choosing what shots and everything, where to be, how it's going to be filmed and everything. So then I have control over what sort of choices I have in the editing room to say, okay, this shot worked best. I make sure I have the coverage I need to tell the story the way I want. But feels kind of like we got a little off topic.
Oh yeah, we did, but that's the thing. I mean, like the names of these segments, the little mini games, the topics, it's all just a catalyst for whatever conversation is going to happen out of it. I don't really give a shit if we stay on topic as far as talking about the Avengers or talking about
I just
totally rad show. We're talking about anything that's not,
I just kind of feel like we
going
should
on for 20 minutes about movies.
We should. Well, I'm just saying is I just kind of feel like we should at least cover a little bit about the actual topic before we go running off everywhere else. So
okay, well, I tried that. I introduced the subject, and then
I'm just like, yeah, I totally agree that that's a great, judge of what qualifies as a movie you really love. Because is it enough to catch your attention to continue watching it from any point in the movie? Like, especially for me, because I can get kind of anal about wanting to watch a movie from the beginning. Especially if it's a movie I have never seen before. Because I want to make sure I get the whole story. Story is kind of everything for me when it comes to a movie.
I mean, but it's interesting to have that kind of an objective metric to play around with,
Yeah.
because so much of what you what you like in a movie and what you like from movies in general is subjective. Having that metric to go by has really kind of opened my eyes about how I feel about certain movies, like Down Periscope,
Yeah.
starring Kelsey Grammer. One of my favorite movies. I've seen it easily 20 times. Um, and that's partly because of, back in the day when you had cable and you had one of the cable movie channels, they would play the shit out of one particular movie.
Yeah.
And so you'd end up watching Days of Thunder 5 times. You'd end up watching, you know, like whatever they had the rights to that month, they would show it ad nauseum. And so it was like that with Down Periscope, except I would watch it and so that's one of the more amusing examples. One of the more disturbing examples is Carpool with
Tom Arnold.
Tom Arnold. I don't want that to be one of my favorite movies, but I have definitely seen it 5 times, and I definitely stop and watch the rest of it. I I even had to convince myself at one point, uh, you know, no, you don't want a Toyota Previa. Just because Tom Arnold drives one in the movie Carpool, you do not want a Toyota Previa. Just stop. Just stop being so ridiculous, man.
That is a very piss poor reason to get a car.
Somewhat redeeming thing about that movie is it has the the guy from the American Pie movies,
Eugene Levy, or
Eugene Levy. Yes,
it's
Eugene
been
Levy.
so long since I've seen that movie, Carpool. Like I saw it
Yeah.
when it first came to video, way back when. I know I definitely didn't see it in the theaters.
Yeah,
Didn't
I
even have
mean that's another one. That's another one, ladies and gentlemen. That I mean, if you haven't seen it, you're probably better off. So I am cursed with knowledge, but if you have not seen it, you are still innocent. So you should not do that to your eyes and your brain. Um, Wild Hogs still a worse movie. I would say if you have to subject yourself to one, I would say that Carpool is probably toxic. Uh, Wild Hogs is definitely radioactive. Like,
I'm gonna say I don't remember it that well, but I don't remember it being that bad. Carpool.
yeah,
I
I don't.
I'm
I'm
not gonna
glad.
say it
I'm
was
glad you
great.
clarified. I'm glad you clarified, because like one of the things that was a problem for editing the last episode, and one of the things that was a problem for just us chatting back and forth, is we'd be talking about multiple movies at one time, and we would say that movie, and then the other one would have to be like what, Phantom Menace or Phantom Menace or League of Their Own. Which one are you talking about? So I'm glad you specified that you were talking about Carpool there.
And well, I don't know. You bring that up, and all I can really think is if you thought Carpool was bad, try watching Meet the Stupids.
Try watching what?
Meet the Stupids with Tom Arnold.
Oh
I have a friend that loves that
God.
movie. But
Yeah,
a long
I
time
subjected myself to that.
But-
I yeah. That's a movie that that's one of those I'm gonna hurt myself now type experiences. That's like it's like intentional infliction of damage. Whereas Carpool, I unironically enjoy.
Well, I mean, it's that. Like I said, I got a friend that absolutely loves Meet the Stupids. He really and truly enjoys that film. And it's real interesting trying to talk to him about movies, because like if you did a Venn diagram about movies I like and movies he liked, the circles would overlap maybe a fraction of a millimeter. Like our tastes are almost completely opposite each other. So it's really hard for us to find common ground on movies. It's
Right.
literally 99 out of, we'll say 999 movies out of every 1,000 that one of us likes, the other one hates. So, it's interesting, but he used to love that movie. That's why it just really, when you said Tom Arnold, that's the one that popped into my head, even more so than the whole. The only thing notable out of that movie that is even remotely good is he does a pretty good rendition of "I Am My Own Grandpa." And I have to give him props for that. He sang that song pretty. I did always kind of feel like Tom Arnold was a underappreciated actor and comedian. You know, he got a lot of flack for writing Roseanne's coattails. Roseanne Barr, they were married. I mean, honestly, can you really blame him? If you had a famous wife, wouldn't you take advantage of that to help build your own career?
I mean, people do it all the time. It's just I think the feeling there was that was the only reason why he was famous. Like if you have a famous spouse and you use the clout to elevate your position, yeah, of course, you'd be stupid not to do that. But at the same time, once you get there, people are like, hey, this guy's kind of talented. Tom Arnold, it's like, why are we watching this?
Well, like I said, I kind of felt he made a lot of bad choices, because I've seen stuff that he was in that he actually did a really good job. But I've seen a lot of crap he was in too. So, you know,
what have you seen that he was good in?
Trying to remember what the name of it was. I have to go back to IMDb. It was with Skeet Ulrich, and it was, he kind of played a religious nut in it, if I'm remembering correctly. It's the character he played. True Lies. He wasn't bad in True Lies.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That wasn't the movie I'm thinking of, but I pulled him up, and that was like the thing he's known for. And I was like, oh, yeah, True Lies. He was pretty good in that. Like I said, he's done a lot of crap. So
he was in Mr. 3000 playing himself, because at that point he was on the best damn sport, the best damn sports show period, the best damn sports show period. I didn't realize that was so difficult to say. And like Bernie Mac, basically, Bernie Mac's character, the movie, basically says exactly what you just said, and that's that he's only famous because of Roseanne. And he's like, yeah, no, you're right. And everybody has a good laugh about it. And, I mean, and you have this thing that you always say where you gain a little bit of respect for if somebody's able to be, self-effacing like that. And
if you can make fun of yourself, you'll gain a little bit of respect. I also love when him and Roseanne got a divorce. There was some very vicious fighting back and forth, and she made some disparaging comments about the size of his manhood. And I just loved his response was, yeah, even a 747 looks small in the Grand Canyon. I was just like, yep, that's... Where the hell he's done so much. I thought he did a really good job in McHale's Navy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. McHale's Navy, that's one of the movies where they took the funniest line and put it in the trailer. It's like, we're never going to make it through with all this stuff. Okay, leave the guns.
Yeah. So the movie I was talking about is called Touch. It has Skeet Ulrich, Christopher Walken, Bridget Fonda. Oh, I forgot LL Cool J was. Oh, he plays himself. LL Cool J was in it.
That leads us on to our final topic. Expectations versus reality. I realize that, like, a lot of what you and I talk about in private conversations and what was alluded to in some of the stuff we talked about in the previous episode, the expectations you had and how they were or weren't met. And I think that is paramount when it comes to, like, how you perceive a movie. Like, everybody has this.
No, I'm agreeing with you. No, it's expectations of what a film's going to be will color how you enjoy that film completely.
Right. Everybody has this sliding scale in their mind, and they know, like, it goes back to what I was saying last time about that Justin Roiland quote, and about how, you don't know what to expect because a movie is something that you have to pay for before you can see it. And so, like, I remember when we went to go see the first Thor movie, I went out of the theater raving about it. And you were like, nah, it was okay. It could have been better. Because you were familiar, I guess you were familiar with the character from the comic books.
A little bit. I don't know. I really don't know how to really describe why I found that not disappointing, but honestly, the more I think about it, since it was so much set in like Asgard and then the desert, New Mexico desert, that contrast of like vibrant thing just kind of threw me off a little bit. So it felt like it relied on CGI too much. It's I don't know how to describe it without. There was just some sort of contrast there that just didn't sit well with me. So I didn't think it was a bad movie. I just was, it was no Iron Man. It was more than an Iron Man 2, but it was no Iron Man. I even liked the Hulk better, the Incredible Hulk better than I did Thor. I can't remember if Captain America had come out already, or I don't remember what was the last one of Phase 1.
I think so. I think Captain America: The First Avenger did come out before Thor. Thor: The Dark World was
Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2. Okay, yeah. So the other ones I had before that were Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, and Iron Man 2. And yeah, I mean, it was definitely better than Iron Man 2, but I enjoyed the Incredible Hulk and Iron Man a lot more. So
yeah. So I would say
also Thor really is one of the characters that interests me the least. So that might have colored it too. But.
Just talking, we're talking a lot about the MCU in this episode. What is, like, I want to say Thor: The Dark World is probably the worst MCU movie I saw, or rather that exists to my knowledge, because there's not many MCU movies up to Avengers Endgame, there's not many that I haven't seen.
It's the worst Marvel movie. Gosh. Yeah.
I mean, talk me through your process here. Are you going Iron
I'm
Man
trying to-
2, Thor Dark World? Or are you juggling a bunch of them in your mind?
Juggling 3, honestly, because I'm trying to think of the MCU movies I've enjoyed the least. I've actually enjoyed all of them. I acknowledge some of them aren't as good as others,
Mhm.
but there was a lot of potential in Iron Man 2. Didn't live up to it, but
Right.
So to me, it's trying to decide which one I really enjoyed less: Iron Man 2, Thor: Dark World, or the Eternals, or Eternals. I guess there's no D on it; it's just Eternals. And I think part of my problem with the Eternals was, if ever there was a Marvel movie that needed to be made into a mini-series on Disney Plus, that was it.
It seems like it's. I heard about this somewhere. It was on a podcast. It's on a movie podcast. These two jerks on there. What was stale, sour, less than fresh, less than
Yeah.
fresh. They were talking their first episode. They were just kind of meandering. They didn't know what they were talking about, and one of them struck on that. They mentioned that Eternals would have been better as a miniseries.
Well, yeah. So I mean, that for me, that's like between those 3. I don't know which one I kind of enjoyed the.
Thor: The Dark World. That was the one with the dark elves, right?
Yeah.
The dark elves weren't fully formed bad guys. They were
They did a horrible job. Like, if I had to pick one for the worst villain, that would definitely be it. Malekith, the lead villain in that nobody really remembers, other than the fact that he was played by Christopher Eccleston. And if you don't actually know who actors' names are half the time, like I do, you don't even know that. They made him gray and monotone and very boring. The character was a very flamboyant and colorful character in the comics. So, of course, I mean, he never asked for his bird. So,
I want my bird. I want my bird. I hate that. I hate that so much. Like you're baiting me because I'm gonna go off on this. Like that moment. They focused so damn much on the bird and the I want my bird that it felt like a plot point. It felt like they were setting something up that was supposed to pay off later in the film. Like I kept thinking that okay, he wants his bird because there's like some special thing that's inside of the bird cage that he wants to smuggle in or something. I thought there was a point to that, and then it just felt like there was a setup with no payoff. I want my bird. And like it's so weird the way he says it because it's like bird is like BOURD, like but we who is the guy? You don't have to answer me. I got IMDb up on my other screen here.
Mickey Rourke.
I'm turning into you slowly.
Mickey Rourke.
Into no. I know who Mickey Rourke is, but like
Sam Rockwell.
Yeah, Sam Rockwell. Yeah, Sam Rockwell as Justin Hammer. Like we need some more of that guy. Like
Yes.
I'm a big Sam Rockwell guy.
But you couldn't even remember his name.
Shut up.
Sorry, man.
I mean, if you insist on being accurate about it, yes. But,
Yes, Sam Rockwell.
But Honest Trailers made that same joke, like the fact that you know who he is, but you don't know who he is. Like you confuse him with a bunch of other actors.
Well, Sam Rockwell is definitely one of those actors that if I hear he's involved with the project, I will give it a second look, no matter how much it didn't interest me when I first heard about it.
Yeah. There was that one time I came over to your place and we watched Moon.
Yeah.
I went back home. First thing I did was got on Amazon and ordered a copy of Moon.
Yeah, I didn't even know about that movie existed until you brought it around, and then I was like, wow, that was an awesome movie.
Yeah.
Even if it did have the misfortune of having Kevin Spacey in it. Well, his voice.
Yeah. But yeah, it was the voice of Kevin Spacey. He played a robot, so he couldn't do too much to you.
I don't know. You can still get molested by a robot.
So now here I am. I'm sitting here thinking about Kevin Spacey bot and wondering and trying to think back on that movie and remember if he had the appropriate appendages to molest you. Thank you a lot.
You're welcome.
So Sam Rockwell was good as Justin Hammer. What I thought was ridiculous about that movie, on top of everything else, was the fact that Hammer Tech came by to try to sell armaments to the army for War Machine, and they bought them and strapped them on War Machine. It's a Stark branded product. I don't know about military weapons systems. I don't know if they're made with uniform connectors where one thing is supposed to bolt up to another regardless of what manufacturer made it. But in the world of proprietary technologies by major corporations, it makes sense that the only things that would bolt up to War Machine would be Stark products. And it was funny when the Stark War Machine suit tried to fire Hammer Tech products and they failed. But it was now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, it may not have been that Hammer Tech was as crappy as they made it out to be. It may be that they were just connecting two incompatible systems.
Well, I think they were trying to imply that it was crappy because it was supposed to be a commentary about government spending. Like you can get quality or you can get cheap, and the government will spend lots of money on cheap.
Right. Yeah. And talk about being cheap. They got the War Machine suit for free.
Yeah.
Rudy just snuck out with it.
Classic thing about remember your armor was made by the lowest bidding contractor.
Yeah.
Every expense was spared.
Yeah. But going back to the topic, expectation, all of the media surrounding an intellectual property, be it movies, video games, books, like anything that comes out that they need to give you an idea of what it's about. The marketing people, their job is to get you as hyped for it as possible.
Yeah.
But there's a certain amount of tempering expectations, because if you get people's hopes up too high, then they go away with a bad impression because they expected this. It's like the expectation versus reality of what we all thought Cybertruck was going to be, and now that people actually have what Cybertruck is turning out to be.
God awful ugly car.
And falling apart.
Is it? I went to the store earlier today and somebody.
You almost bought one?
No. But some fool in this area did buy one because I came out to my car and parked in front of me was a Cybertruck. I was like, oh my God, I'm actually seeing a piece of crap in real life. What was it? I saw a meme that said the Cybertruck. It's the 8-bit version of the Aztec.
Yeah. It's like a Pontiac Aztec with PlayStation 1 graphics. Hey, for all the audio listeners out there, I'm wearing a PlayStation T-shirt today.
But Yeah, no, it's interesting how much that can really affect how you know, what sort of expectations you have, what.
Right. And so what's to be done about that? I mean, does that mean that every studio should be like, yeah, we got a movie coming out. It's going to be all right. I mean, watch it if you want. I mean, it's going to be pretty good.
No, I wouldn't go that far. I think maybe to a certain, and this kind of touches on something we did talk, I believe we talked about last episode, about with trailers, containing, footage that never makes it into the film, or
Yeah.
trailers that are, marketed in one way and then you turn around and that's not what the film's like. That's something they need to really work on avoiding, wait until the film is done and edited before you start marketing it with trailers, so that you're not building expectations from people who have see a favorite scene in their trailer and they're looking for that scene in the movie. Like, hey, how come that wasn't in the movie? I thought that was going to be in the movie.
Like, apparently my sister really wanted to see that ship blow up in the movie Annapolis.
Yeah. Or like I said, I wanted to go see a black comedy. I got a serious drama.
That's messed up. That's like the whole tone of the movie.
Yeah,
was wrong compared to the trailer. But
I mean,
where does that leave us? I mean, that's a different problem entirely, because that's marketing it, but I mean, like we talked about in the last episode, the trailer editors don't really have control over that, and that's sort of like mismarketing, misrepresenting the product versus like I'm talking about where the expectation is set improperly. The expectation for the product the person is going to receive. Like if you saw like for example, a big thing that was a problem up until a few years ago was video game trailers that used pre-rendered cinematics, and so you'd hire some graphics studio in Los Angeles to cook you up this really great, looked like in-game cutscene, but was movie level graphics, and then they say, yeah, this is our trailer for the game. And it wasn't until there was such a backlash about it that they started only showing in-game footage and having a graphic on screen that says in-game render to indicate that you're looking at in-game footage, and then some of that pre-rendered CGI stuff does slip in, but those you can tell which one's which because they have that in-game rendered graphics thing in the corner of the screen, and when it's not there, it's not that.
Okay. If you cut out the misleading trailers and just go with marketing that's very accurate to what to expect, give or take, because even then they're cutting out choice parts from the movie, so they can tell you could make a good trailer for a bad movie. You just picked the best parts. So if you ignored that part of it, one of the things I think they could do is, all right, for starters, don't start advertising a year to 6 months before you plan on releasing that movie, and then actually wait till maybe 3 to 4 months before the movie, and then do maybe 2 trailers and maybe 1 to 2 TV spots. Don't do 30 different trailers so that you're either overhyping it to the point where people are expecting way more, or saturating it to the point where people are like, I'm so sick of hearing this, I really have no desire to see this. Um, I'm not that part of the point may actually not be actually what you're talking about, but as I'm saying is I think that they oversaturate the market on their advertising, and and like I said, for especially like I talked about last time, I don't really like spoilers, so I try to avoid trailers, and that gets really hard to do if you have any sort of online uh, presence, because when you're looking online, their freaking ads are everywhere. I'm like, I have so much trouble trying to not see spoilers for Deadpool and Wolverine. I've only got another week. Is it a week? Yeah, about a week to go. Next Friday, I think, is when it comes out. So,
Yeah, I just saw on YouTube earlier today. I saw somebody, it had been posted, Deadpool and Wolverine, the final trailer.
yeah, and I mean, like most movies, especially the big budget films, wind up getting four to five trailers before they're set.
And then there's movie geek channels that do trailer examinations where they examine frame by frame for
and that's just
Easter eggs.
Yeah, that's just the domestic trailers. Then you start getting trailer cuts for foreign markets. So the oversaturation of the trailers, I think, can really destroy what people how they expect a movie to turn out to be.
Mm-hmm.
It can build interest, but it can also destroy it. And I think that can make an issue about how someone expects, going into a movie. That being said, sometimes avoiding trailers can be a mistake too, because there have been several times where I've went into a movie where I'd been avoiding the trailer, so I didn't get what I was expecting. I had made my decision based on other things other than the trailer. One of the biggest,
but again, going back to the you don't get to watch a movie before you pay for it thing. Like, if you don't base your decision on the trailer, what do you base it on?
Sometimes, well, it's not as prevalent now. Like, I was watching the whole thing by that Patrick H. Willem, another YouTube person that I've been watching. He was talking about how, like, there's no real bankable movie stars that, like, back during the golden age of Hollywood, people didn't necessarily go see a movie for a franchise or necessarily the plot. It was, this is the new Cary Grant picture. This is the new Marlene Dietrich picture. They were going to see the stars. To a certain degree, that can exist. Most people don't. But, like I just said, I heard that Sam Rockwell's in that film. I'm going to possibly give that film a try. Steve Buscemi, that's something I like. Stanley Tucci, Nathan Fillion, actors I really enjoy. I've really liked their stuff. So I haven't seen everything they've done. And there are times when I've decided, I still don't want to see it. But there'll be, you give me a flat description of what the movie's about, and I might go, eh. And then you say, oh, yeah, and it stars this person. Then I'll be like, well, maybe I would like to see what they would do with that, how their performance brings that plot to life. So, because I used to sit there on IMDb.
They're coming out with another Batman movie. And it's played by Al Pacino this time. Oh!
Al Pacino.
Something interesting to the world.
Maybe when he was younger, but, like, honestly, so I still haven't seen The Irishman yet, but I was going to say, just kind of like Robert De Niro, I just haven't gotten into his later stuff. It's like, once he got a certain age, it's like, I've been doing this for many years. I've got all the money I really need. I really don't give a crap anymore. And I find that there's a lot of actors that have been in the business for a long time you look at their earlier, like their real early stuff isn't always necessarily that good because they're just getting their start. But right when they hit their stride, I mean, they'll have a lot of really good work, and then towards the end of their career, it's a lot of crap again because they're so burned out they don't really care what they do, or they blew all their money on like buying a dinosaur skeleton and weird stuff, and then have to sell it all, and then owe a whole bunch to the IRS. So they take every single movie that comes across their desk, like Nicolas Cage.
Exactly what I was thinking.
That's, but so that, because I actually had a movie that was pretty much that thing where I didn't really know much about it. I just knew who was in it, and I had some preconceived notions. I think I did see one trailer for it and had some preconceived notions about what the movie was going to be about, and it was absolutely nothing like over. I guess okay. So there was a movie called Smoking Aces, which was a Ryan Reynolds film. But a lot of people hate that movie. I don't know why. I really loved that movie. I thought it was really good and enjoyable. Not too long after, Paul Giamatti and Clive Owen had a movie that came out called Shoot 'Em Up. For some strange reason, and I fully admit this is my own stupidity, with a title like Shoot 'Em Up, I was expecting I should have known better, but I went into that movie thinking I was going to get something a little bit more in-depth, like Smoking Aces, that would actually kind of had some twists and turns in story, not just shoot 'em up.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting because
not a lot of plot and twist to it. It's all just basically one huge action scene.
Yeah.
I had a friend that absolutely, he did not like Smoking Aces and loved Shoot 'Em Up. And I always kind of found it funny is that we always say that he went into Smoking Aces expecting Shoot 'Em Up. I went into Shoot 'Em Up expecting Smoking Aces. Neither one of us was happy because we didn't get what we wanted. So I admit I don't know why I thought something called Shoot 'Em Up was going to have some like depth twist to it. But it does have a really brilliant line by Paul Giamatti in it. It's like, if I remember, it's are we that bad, or is he just that fucking good? When after he had like blown away a whole bunch of the henchmen, and he's just like, it's like, do we suck, or is he just really awesome?
Yeah,
but Paul Giamatti is another one of the actors that he's involved. I'd be interested to see what it's about.
I mean, I know that. I know your Paul Giamatti fetish. I was, if you hadn't said something, I was going to mention it. To back up for a second, it doesn't relate to anything we've been talking about thus far, but you did touch on it briefly. That's why I'm bringing it up. Smoking Aces, Shoot 'Em Up. Hollywood does this sometimes, where somebody will be coming out with a movie and another studio has something in that same genre that that they have in the can, they've been holding on to for a while. Dante's Peak, and then there was another
Volcano.
Yeah, I was gonna say Volcano, and then I thought maybe it was San Andreas, but no.
No, San Andreas was one of those big earthquake, like 2012 type.
Day After Tomorrow, there was another ice age like freezing disaster movie that like came out at the same time, right?
I don't remember, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, so yeah. So we don't have the kind of memories that it takes to you know operate off the fly on the fly like that. I did see uh, Dante's Peak. Um, it's not bad, you know. I mean, if you've got an hour and a half to waste and you like Pierce Brosnan, which
I
I'm, you know,
I actually liked it better than I did Volcano.
I didn't see Volcano.
I've seen
Well,
most of
Volcano,
it.
to the best of my knowledge, 0% Pierce Brosnan.
That is correct. So
Yeah,
I've watched. I haven't watched it in its
no,
entirety. That's actually a movie that I caught on television and watched. You know, kind of tying back. It's not something that I will always watch when it comes on, but it was one of the few times where I got in at a late point and went ahead and stuck with it instead of insisting I go back and watch from the beginning. So
you said it's one of those things that I won't always watch when it comes on. My hearing being what it is, I heard it's something I won't always watch with my clothes on.
you are a very, very sick man. But yeah, Hollywood does that all the time with like two very, very similar Armageddon, Deep Impact.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, and now that I think about it, Dante's Peak, Volcano, Armageddon, Deep Impact, and Volcano, both Tommy Lee Jones movies.
Oh.
I don't know if there's.
Tommy Lee Jones is their secret weapon.
We're like, we have to make a knockoff picture real quick before the other one gets out. Tommy, come here.
Yeah, right. Like, what's going to make people see this, even though they have no knowledge of what this movie's about? Let's throw Tommy Lee Jones in there. And what are Ryan Reynolds and Paul Rudd doing this week? Let's get them on board. Call back.
Yep.
That's all the topics that I wanted to cover this evening. You know, I mean, this has been a blast. I could keep going for another. You know, we've been chatting 2 hours. I could go 3 hours, 4 hours.
Well,
On
real
this.
quick, before we do go, I did want to ask, referring back to another subject, you talked about the movies that you could kind of get in the middle of and just watch as a metric for favorites. What are some of the movies that you could just like watch whenever they come on? Like you never seem to get tired of them. If they come on, you'll just watch them. Give me like 3 or 4. I'm just curious.
Down Periscope, Carpool.
Carpool.
As a gag, I was gonna say Wild Hogs, but no, not even in jest. Not even in jest. Days of Thunder. Days of Thunder. Like Days of Thunder. I'm just gonna give you those 3 in the list because I'm gonna go off on a Days of Thunder right here for a second. I loved Days of Thunder when it came out because there were no NASCAR movies and it was a NASCAR movie. And it wasn't until later when I grew up some and became more discerning as a movie viewer that I said, this is a bad movie. Because Jerry Bruckheimer wanted everybody to give every line reading as dramatically as possible. I mean, from the first line in the movie to the last line in the movie, it doesn't matter what character it is. It doesn't matter what the fuck they're talking about. They have to give it, they have to be as dramatic as possible. And so then when I matured a bit more, I realized, I thought Days of Thunder was a movie I liked. I realized it's a bad movie. Then I realized it's a bad movie that I like. So I will sit there and I will watch the whole thing from wherever it is, even though I recognize that Tom Cruise is being over dramatic the whole time.
let me take that one step further and evolve you as you've reached another level of maturity. Days of Thunder is a bad movie that you like because it's a bad movie.
Yeah. You know what? I will own that. I will accept that. I think that Days of Thunder falls into the category of so bad it's good. So yes, I like it in part. Like the parts that aren't ruined for me by the overdramaticness of everything, and then I still like unironically the rest of it. I like as a so bad it's good movie. So I kind of enjoy it on two levels that way.
Say, do you have any movies that you know are bad? You don't really like them, but you find yourself wanting to watch them again. But I guess the best way to do it was to say what I'm trying to get is there's a Lewis Black has a little comedy thing about candy corn, talking about how every time, but it's candy and it's corn. And then you take a bite of it and it's crap. Oh, this is awful. But then it comes around back again the next year. And you're like, I know it's awful, but it's candy and it's corn and I want it to be good. And no, God, it's just as awful. So something that you kind of like know it hate, you know it's going to be bad, but you find yourself watching it again anyways, even though you don't actually really enjoy it.
No, I mean, I was analyzing that question the whole time you were going through that, and I know and I love that Lewis Black bit. There's no candy corn that's been manufactured since 1975. What they do is they go and collect up the leftover candy corn and repackage it and resell it the next year. Hilarious bit. But like, no, thankfully I have strong enough self-preservation instincts that, yeah, I do have that morbid curiosity gene where like I will watch Meet the Spartans disaster movie. I actually watched both of those in one weekend. Yeah. So I have that kind of morbid curiosity, and I will like if it's a so bad it's good movie, I will see it again. If it's a so bad it's bad movie, I will remember. Like human beings are programmed so that like when you touch a hot stove and you burn yourself, you remember that. So you remember not to do that again. That's the part of my brain that kicks in. And I was like, no. Oh my God, I remember that movie. Absolutely not. So no, I've never so bad it's good movies, yes. So bad it's bad movies, no.
Well, I always think about there's a movie that it's a bad movie, but there was one part in the movie that was really good. And it's like I get the urge to watch this. I don't always do it, but I get the urge to kind of watch it again because I remember how great that part was. And it's almost enough to make me want to watch it again. But then I watch it when I do watch it again. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot. Not exactly I forgot, but it just the edge is dulled on how bad the rest of the movie is because all I can really remember was how great this part of it was. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like, yes, that part was great, but why did I make myself suffer through all that bad again? It wasn't really worth it for that great. And that's Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the original movie. And the part that I thought was really good was Paul Rubin's character in that movie. Was just, I thought he was brilliant in that film. I loved him in that film. And I want to remember the film for him, but then remembering the rest of the film and how bad it was.
I feel like the way your brain is working in that instance is that you have like your brain is activating a coping mechanism where you're like you're insulating yourself from how bad that movie was, and unfortunately it's causing you to injure yourself again.
Yeah, no, I haven't done that in a long time. It's been probably a couple of decades since I've seen it.
Well,
And
if you ever mention
when I've
Buffy the
had
Vampire
urge-
Slayer,
I was going to say, when I've had the urge to see it in the last couple of decades, I've been like, no, the rest of the movie's too bad. I can't do that. So, I mean, but for a little while there, and I saw that in the theater, went with a couple of friends. We were teenagers and made a lot of, we were like the only people in the theater, so we made a lot of obnoxious jokes about the whole thing. Because God knows the movie wasn't worth watching. I mean, I'm masochistic enough, I still pay attention to a certain degree. I can't help it. You put a movie in front of me, I'm going to kind of watch it, whether I really want to or not. Like I always say, when I had to get a root canal done one time. The dentist had a television over it to watch while it was being done. And I still say the most painful thing about the root canal was having to watch Alien Resurrection again. And I could have asked them to turn the channel. I could have not watched, but I just kept watching it, even though I knew how bad it was. I don't know, maybe it's self-loathing and masochistic stream. But
so
it's been a while since I've done that Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie. I still say Paul Rubens was brilliant in it, though. The only shining thing out of the whole movie.
Possibly so. I hadn't seen it.
Well, we got Luke Perry, Christy Swanson, Rutger Hauer, and Donald Sutherland. And I swear every single one of them probably did it for paid. Well, Luke Perry was probably doing it just to do something other than 90201. Because that's all he had really done by that time. But
yeah. By the way, so Alien Resurrection, Joss Whedon, if you're watching, which I know you must be, you're welcome to come on the podcast anytime. I'm not even going to ask you about a Cassady. I'm just going to be like, I'm just going to throw out that open invitation. So, Joss Whedon, whenever you feel like stopping by the show, we'll set up a recording time that works for you. And
if you come on, can I get your Nathan Fillion's contact information so I can get him for my projects?
I'll mail you my Firefly box set. You can autograph it. Actually, I'll mail you both of them, and you can autograph.
I gotta say, just sorry, Firefly, brilliant.
Yeah,
probably his best work.
Absolutely. But as far as the open invitations go, Luke Perry, Paul Rubens, if you're watching, which you must be, you absolutely must be watching. This can't miss show whenever we
Paul
post
Rubens
it
is
online.
passed.
Huh?
Paul Rubens is passed. He's not alive anymore. You didn't know that?
No.
He passed like a year or so ago.
Damn. So we'll have to figure some stuff out, like get some Ouija boards, some some seance candles. I'm trying to recover, but I don't even want to make that joke. That's sad. I didn't know.
He passed away last year, July 30th. So it's almost been exactly a year.
Wow. I mean, if you want to channel somebody, if you want to like speak through their body and like have them come on the podcast, we'll do that. I don't seriously
Luke Perry passed away back in 2019.
God damn! I just should stop.
Let me see if Joss Whedon's still alive.
right. Am I 3 for 3?
Hey, he's still alive. We might be able to get him on the show.
All right. Maybe for some reason get him to channel the voices of Luke Perry. Oh my God!
It was pretty sad, Paul Rubin passing, because he was a brilliant comedian, and I don't think he got a lot of the credit as a character actor. Like, not even considering Pee-wee, just some of the parts he's done as playing other characters is just phenomenal. So I don't think he got all the credit he deserved. We better stop this because you look like you're about to cry.
What's that?
I said we better stop this because you look like you're about to cry.
I just, yeah. Well, I feel bad. I feel bad that those people have passed, and I feel bad that I inadvertently made what sounds like a callous reference. I mean, I'm like, if I invited them on the podcast, and that was, of course, like genuinely in error. I didn't mean for that to be, some callous joke at their passing.
Yeah.
Anyway, I always try and end on a high note. So, let's see. Any parting words for the good people before we take off?
Watch more movies.
Yeah. And my advice would be watch more bad movies.
Well, the way Hollywood put things out, that's not that hard.
Yeah. It's a lot easier to do than to watch good movies.